What is going on, everyone? Welcome to our Saturday college basketball live stream. Today is March 2nd, 2024. Five top 25 games on the slate. Also going to get into three NHL matchups, a full NHL slate today on our Saturday, starting this afternoon at, I believe, 12:30, moving all the way into the night. We have one good NBA game on the slate, Nuggets, Lakers, a little hint at that. Going to give my opinions on that game. Last Sunday went through three college basketball, three NHL, and three NBA. Went 9-0 all across the board, had quite the day on Sunday. Hoping to bring that same luck back here with going to go through 9 games. We'll start out in college basketball. Like I said, 5 top 25 matchups. We start out in the afternoon or at noon, where number 24 Florida is heading to number 18 South Carolina. South Carolina is a 1.5-point favorite here. Minus 130 on the money line, plus 108 for Florida. Over under at 144.5. Not a big over unders guy in college basketball, so probably not even going to keep saying those. I do like South Carolina in this spot. The minus 1.5, minus 118. This is one that I'm going to be locking in. This is probably my only noon play. I haven't looked at too many of the other non-top 25 games. Out of the games that we're going through, this is one of my more favorite plays. I like South Carolina minus 1.5. It is moving to the minus 2, so I suggest getting it, buying the juice. Minus 118 on FanDuel, so we'll be locking that one in. I think that's a good spot. South Carolina has been pretty good in their last couple games, although Florida coming off a big win themselves. I think South Carolina will handle their business on their home floor. It's going to be a good matchup. Obviously, like I said, Florida coming into this game, they just played, I can't remember who it was, Missouri, Vanderbilt, two lower SEC teams, but obviously picking up wins there on their home floor. Their most recent two road games in Alabama and in Georgia, beating Georgia, going to overtime with Alabama and losing Alabama, a fellow ranked team as well. So Florida's been playing some pretty good basketball the past couple of weeks, sneaking into the top 25 this week. I do think they get a loss here today in Columbia down in South Carolina. So take the Gamecocks minus the 1.5 points there. Our next game we are going to get into is a Big 12 matchup. Number 7, Kansas heading to Baylor. Baylor, the 15th ranked team in the country. Baylor also a 5.5-point favorite in this matchup, minus 225 on the money line. Kansas plus 184, over under at the 145.5 as well. Kansas, this line is dropping in favor of Kansas. When I woke up this morning, it was Kansas plus 7, now 6.5, and now I'm looking at it right now when we go live, 5.5. I did like Kansas with the 6.5 points. I don't love them to win the game. This is a spot where it kind of reminds me of that Houston-Baylor game last weekend. Baylor went in, or Houston went in, kind of dominated the first half, let Baylor hang around in the second half. But I don't know. I like Kansas in this spot, plus 5.5, plus 6.5. Be wary where you get that number. See what you can get there. Obviously, get the best price and best number that you can. So I do lean on Kansas in that spot. Number 7 versus number 15. This is an elite Big 12 matchup. I really like Kansas in this spot, especially off a home loss to BYU. That's a fluke. I think this is a get-right game. You immediately, you lose a home game to a team like BYU, their first year in the Big 12. And really, it was BYU's game the whole second half. But I think this is a big bounce-back spot for Kansas. You get a big nationally televised, top 25 matchup. I think this is a game that they have to win. They will think about, but I like them with the points. Take the points here. Be safe about it. But yeah, I lean on Kansas there, plus the 5.5, 6.5 points. And then we have a Big East matchup with a little bit top 2 match with number 5 Marquette heading to Creighton to take on number 12 Creighton. Creighton's a 6.5-point favorite, minus 285 on the line, plus 230. Over under at 153.5. A couple weeks ago, we saw Creighton take down UConn on their home floor. That was obviously kind of Creighton's statement win of the season. Anytime you take down the number 1 seed, that's obviously a big one. Creighton did that, and then they went to St. John's. I think it was 3 or 4 days later. Lost to an unranked St. John's team, but that just kind of defines what college basketball is in a nutshell. Basically, you can beat anyone, you can lose to anyone on any given night. I do like Marquette here, plus the 6.5 points. Marquette's been an absolute steamroll the past couple of games. I really like them in this spot. A Big East matchup, like I said. I think Creighton is kind of soaring a little too high. I'm not necessarily huge on that team that Greg McDermott has going over there in Creighton. 21-8 record. It's hard to go against, but Marquette continues to run through the Big East. They lost at UConn. Obviously, Creighton beat UConn on their home floor, so a lot of people are going to look at that one. Both teams 4-1 in their last 5. Marquette's loss, obviously, in UConn, but they've been hot the past couple of games, and I'm going to ride Marquette here on the road today as a 6.5-point underdog. Next game, we have an SEC matchup, a top 14 matchup where we have number 4, Tennessee heading to Alabama. Give me 1 second to find that on the slate. That's an 8 o'clock game, getting more into the afternoon slate. We have Alabama's a 3.5-point favorite, minus 170 on the money line, and then over under at 170.5. So definitely one of the higher over unders today. But I do lean on Tennessee here. I like a lot of these road dogs today, and that's not usually how I roll, but I do like Tennessee with the 3.5 points. I think they win this game. Kind of the same thing. I'm not big on this Alabama team. They're obviously, I see why people are or feel the way they do about them. Tennessee's on a hot streak, 5-0 in their last 5. Alabama lost a tough one I think it was last week against Kentucky in Kentucky. But we had Kentucky on the card in that game. Kentucky was a 2.5-point favorite. They absolutely blew Alabama out of the building. I like Tennessee's team. I like Zakai Ziegler. I like Dalton Knecht. I like what they're cooking down there in Tennessee. I'm going to take the Volunteers plus the 3.5 points today in Alabama. It's definitely a tough pick. And then we'll end things off with a late night game, 10 o'clock, where we have number 23 Gonzaga, another very hot team in the country, heading to number 17 St. Mary's. Obviously, two teams that you're used to seeing in the bracket, especially St. Mary's. Everyone knows Gonzaga, but St. Mary's has been one of those staple names the past couple of years out there in those Western conferences. But Gonzaga on a 5-game win streak, as well as St. Mary's. So both of these teams are rolling. I did take Gonzaga the other night in their game against San Francisco at San Francisco. The minus 3.5 that did hit there. I'm going to stay hot with the Gonzaga Bulldogs. I'm going to take them on the money line here, plus the 120. I did see plus 130 on MGM, so make sure you know where you're finding this one at. I did take Gonzaga money line. I don't think the 2.5. If they cover, they're going to win the game. If they don't, I'll eat that one on the chin. But I just think Gonzaga money line here today is the play. I like it's a late night slate. You got some time to lock this one in, but I definitely think it's going to be dropping. So you might see this, but plus 115, plus 110 come tip off closer to 10 o'clock. But we'll kind of recap the game. Couple other games I won't dive into, but plays that I did like. Wisconsin versus Illinois. Wisconsin hosting Illinois. I like Wisconsin, the 2.5 home favorite there. The Badgers have had a couple of shaky games in the Big Ten this year. That was a team I was pretty big on coming this season, but they've definitely struggled at times. I'm also not big on Illinois, so this could be a little bit of a biased pick for me, but I like the Badgers to get the job done at home today. Couple other good matchups. Oregon, Arizona 13.5-point favorite. Early on in the year, I was taking Arizona with a lot of these big spreads, and they just haven't been covering them lately. I do kind of lean on the Wildcats there, minus the big spread of 13.5. Oregon's not good on the road, so I definitely would lean on Arizona minus the 13.5 there if you are looking for a play in that one. Auburn minus 9.5. That's a nice play. I like that. UNC, NC State, a little rivalry game. I'd maybe stay away from the NC minus 10.5 there. That definitely could be a close one. And then I also do like Houston minus 6.5 at Oklahoma. I'm not big on this Sooners team that they have this year, and I think Houston is a much deserving number 1 seed. I think they'll get the job done today. But in the games that we kind of dove into, South Carolina minus 1.5, Kansas plus 5.5, Marquette plus 6.5. What was the 8 o'clock game? Tennessee plus 3.5 and Gonzaga money line. Like in a lot of those underdogs. So if you want to take some road favorites or road underdogs on the money line, do that what you will. I like to take the points. Gonzaga is the only one I'm actually going to take the straight money line there. But we will move over into the NHL. 3 games on the NHL slate that we're going to look at today. 3 pretty good matchups, as well as my Penguins still out on their Western Conference road trip out there. They play Calgary tonight. Not going to get into that game too much, but we have a 12:40 matchup between the Winnipeg Jets and Carolina Hurricanes in Carolina. Carolina is a minus 154 favorite. The Jets at plus 128, and the Canes minus 1.5 sits at plus 168, with over under at 5.5, with the under favorite at minus 120. Which is pretty interesting. Obviously, these afternoon games, I always like to take the under in these. You're Halibut versus Kachetkov, two elite goaltenders in the NHL. Obviously, Halibut, one of the best in the league. I definitely like that under. I'm going to say it again. I like that first period under. I usually rock with that in these afternoon games. I'm definitely going to take this first period under. I'm trying to see what odds I can find on it. Give me a second here. Let me see what I can find. First period total goals. Oh, that's odd even. Okay, let's see. Under 1.5, minus 128. So I definitely like that, as well as the under 5.5 for the game. But the 5.5 scares me. Things could get out of hand in the second period once these teams get their legs under them. But I like the under 1.5 in the first period in this matchup. But I definitely lean on the Canes to get the win in the game. But we will move on. We have another game that we're going to get into in the afternoon. The Colorado Avalanche heading to the Nashville Predators. Predators have been pretty hot the past couple of games. I did take them the other night. I believe it was Thursday on their matchup against Minnesota. I do like. I think they've kind of turned a different corner. They've been. I think they're on a 5 or a 6 game win streak. They've definitely been rolling. They were on a 5 going into that last game. 7 game win streak for Nashville. So, but obviously, Colorado's caught a different stride coming off big wins themselves. They just obviously they beat down on who was it, the Blackhawks Tuesday night or Thursday night, sorry, 5-0. The Dallas Stars 5-1. They did lose to Toronto. I had Toronto in that matchup. I do remember that last weekend. But the Avalanche are obviously a different kind of breed than what this Nashville team has seen the past couple of weeks, or the past week on this win streak. I kind of like Nashville to keep ride the hot hand here, see what they can do. But it's definitely going to be a tough matchup with they're only plus 114 at home. Avalanche minus 137 coming into the game on the road as a money line. Over under at 6.5. I like the Predators and I like the over in this game. Probably not going to play the over. Definitely leaning on that Predators money line, plus the 114. Shop that around. You could probably find some pretty good odds on that elsewhere. If you can't get higher than 114, then obviously still a juicy home underdog in the NHL. It's 6 o'clock this afternoon. So definitely going to be a good matchup there down in Nashville. And then our last game in the NHL that we're going to look at is Mackey's New York Rangers heading to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Kind of one of the matchups of the day, if you ask me. The Rangers are a plus 106 underdog heading into Toronto to the Maple Leafs minus 128. And the over-under at 6.5. The under favorited at the minus 118. I do lean on the Rangers to stay hot here. I think it's going to be interesting. You saw what Reeves said in his interview. They asked him about Rempe, and he said, he's trying to make a name for himself. That's kind of what I did. Everyone had that. He got called up, and he wasn't called up to score goals, like to add that physical aspect. And they asked him, do you think you're going to go toe-to-toe with him? And he said he doesn't have the game script, but he'll see how things go. So definitely could be a must-see TV moment with Rempe versus Reeves. Obviously, we've seen Rempe kind of fighting everyone that the Rangers have played. He got kind of knocked down by Olivier of the Blue Jackets, but Reeves is definitely going to be a good matchup if they do go at it. I'm sure you'll be seeing that all over social media, but I do lean on Mackey's Rangers. Don't know if I have an official play on this one. I kind of like the under 6.5. I think that with the goalies in net, I want to make sure it's just in before I lock that in. But I think the under 6.5. Yeah, it's Shesterkin versus Samsonov. I'm going to go with the under 6.5. 2 5-flying offenses. I think it's really easy to take the over in this game, and I'm gonna flip that and take the under 6.5 in this matchup. And then obviously that's it for our 3 NHL games. 1 NBA play on the docket today. Give me 1 second here to get that pulled up. Let's see. Lakers Nuggets. It is we only got a 5-game NBA slate. So good matchups throughout the afternoon. Nothing too crazy, but the 8:40 game is what I'm looking at. The Denver Nuggets heading to the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers now a 1-point favorite, minus 112 on the money line. In the over-under, what does that say? 227 there. So I definitely lean on the Lakers here. This line's moving in favor of the Lakers. I'd get it now while the minus 112 money line. I think, this Lakers team, they're catching a different groove. Obviously, the Nuggets, a scary team. They swept the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals last year, but I definitely lean on this Lakers team to get the job done. LeBron, they need to start winning these games, especially against teams that you need to know that you can beat come playoff time. I like the Lakers on the money line here. Maybe some LeBron props. He's playing, him and Anthony Davis are having hell of a games the past couple of weeks. But I'm going to lean on the Lakers here, minus the 112 on the money line to get the job done today. Is my only play in the NBA. I am going to be locking that one in. I did not taken it yet, so minus 112 seems pretty good. But make sure you shop that around and find elsewhere for the the best odds. I feel like you can find that at least at 110. But yeah, a couple good plays in the college basketball world. Make sure you're staying tuned to our social media whenever we're going to get those out. 3 picks in the NHL, 1 in the NBA, 9 plays total, 9-0 last weekend. Definitely, high expectations coming into this week, but hopefully we have a good week, have a winning day, win some bets. But thanks for listening. Make sure you guys are staying tuned for the podcast on Thursday, live stream every Wednesday now, going through NHL and NBA news and all the things in the those worlds over there, as well as diving into some picks for those games on that given night. But thanks for listening. We will see you guys, like I said, Wednesday for the live stream, Thursday for the podcast. Make sure you're checking us out on social media so you don't miss any of the plays. Other than that, that's really it. Thanks for listening. We'll see you Wednesday.